Welcome to another session with InFlow Inventory. Today, I'm meeting with Kiri, and in this video, we're going to go over reporting in InFlow. I'm Lance, inventory management software expert since 2006. So, Kiri, welcome.
Hey Lance, how's it going? Thanks for
Yeah,
having me today.
yeah, for sure. We're looking forward to seeing the reporting in InFlow. Kiri told me it's pretty robust and there's a lot to go over. So yeah, let's take a look.
Yeah, let me get our baby loaded up here, which is InFlow. We're just gonna be here on our dashboard, of course. And once we're in here, the best way to go to is to our reports, which is right here on this home page. You can also get to your reports from a little tab on the side here, which will give you a quick, easy access into that. And there'll be lots of reports that we can go into. I'm first going to start off by saying the way that we lay out our reports are always going to be in little categories, which I'm going to get to. That if you're focusing on things like sales or purchasing or audit logs or even financials, that is all going to be laid out, which I'm going to show you right now. So
Yeah, I saw that on there. Manufacturing, purchasing, sales, audit logs, stock levels, reordering, forecasting, payments, and accounting.
it's super handy because this will allow you to find those reports that you're very actively looking for. Today, let's start off, which I think is a lot of what most people like to focus on, especially at InFlow, which is our sales. So let's go under here, and right away you're going to be met with a few different options. I'll scroll down just a little bit here, and you can already see that it's tallied a bunch of these reports together so that you can find everything that is related to sales. I would say most of the time when people are going through these reports, product sales, their sales order summaries, profit would probably be some of the more common ones that people use. So I'd love to be able to show some of those first.
Yeah,
Let's
those
start
that plug inventory management software into QuickBooks discover that the margins, the sales by margin reports are in the inventory management software. It's the inventory management software that calculates the cost and has the sales per product. And also, oftentimes, inventory management software takes over all inventory management and doesn't update the item list in QuickBooks with this information. So yes, you should look to the inventory management software for sales reports and margin reports.
That's exactly it. I've worked with many people before with QuickBooks, and that question comes up a lot. How can I see what did I buy this thing for that I ended up selling for? You kind of have to go to a few different places, and I think what's great is Info simplifies a lot of that so that you can see that all from the same screen, which is doing what I think we all want when we get a software, which is save us some time, right? I first selected our product sales, right? And you're also going to be met with two different options here, a summary and a details, and they generally will run the same way. The difference really is how the statuses of your products are. So when you pick an inflow on a sales order or when you have one open, those are going to give you two different quantity breakdowns. I'll just show you also that really, really quickly just to explain that. So I just went into my products, and if you look in quantity breakdown, you can notice that there's on hand, reserved, available, picked. This is what I'm referring to because these are going to be different statuses that your item is in, right? When it's on reserve, that means the item is on an open sales order. When the item is picked, that means it's slightly about to go out to be shipped, right? It's been picked off of a shelf. It's likely been put in a box somewhere, or it's about to head out into that status. So those two reports are going to give you different numbers based off of, what you might have sold or where it's being stored based off of those statuses, okay? In this case, I'm going to go into our summary first. And I'm going to have this filtered to my fulfilled products right now. I want to see what actually is sold, and fulfilled obviously means the item has left my inventory. No, I do have the ability that I can also search for products individually. I can get in there very simple by either deselecting, going into the products category and selecting that product manually there, or I can of course choose the category as a whole. So if I wanted to see all my products that I've sold that are part of my electrical category, I could just have that selected, and that will select all four of those products, which it gives me a nice little preview of as well. And you can see there, those are the four products. In this case, let's just have everything selected for right now. Let's take an actual look. If you actually do go in there and manually select it, another handy thing is you can actually see how many were selected in terms of products. Sometimes this could be an indicator too of, how many that is in a quick, easy screenshot. And I'm going to generate this.
Let's do it. Let's take a look.
Yeah. while that's generating, and I'll get back to this as well, I want to let everyone know as well that you can actually customize how the headings on these reports look as well. So when I get back to the video, you're going to see everything laid out. It may look a little overwhelming at first, especially if you're unaware of what these products are, but I'll show you definitely how you'll be able to edit this to look a little bit more to what your business may be looking for. In this case, if you go to this little activity window, the edit headers button, you can actually group your reports, and each report will have a different way of being able to group. In this case, it wants to either group it by the category, or it's just not going to group anything at all and lay everything out in just an order of how they were sold. You can also filter through these different headers or these columns at the top. So if I did want something like the sold quantity to be before the product, you'll get that little regenerate option, and you can see that my header here went from sold quantity in front of product than it was before. So now that sold quantity is actually showing up before the product here too. So you can see how many were there. So if that was something that was important to you and you wanted to see that before any type of information, you can definitely control that from every report. You'll also notice in the filters that you can come down here and add different things. I'm going to touch on this a little bit because I think that's where a lot of the beauty of our reports are. You can use things like custom fields in your products or on sales orders and purchase orders. And if there's a way, again, that you track something uniquely, you can use those custom fields as a way of being able to filter through the data with something that wouldn't have necessarily come baked into the software. So for an example, sometimes people may need to track the color of an item, and maybe they want to check all the red versions of that. I would be able to create a custom field, and I'll show you also quickly where we can do that and how it would be able to show up on the reports. So again, if I were to go back into a products page and go into a product, here's where generally those custom fields are, and you can manage them by hitting that manage button. You'll notice that you always get 10 of these fields, and for example, if I wanted to throw in make here, for example, I know we already got brand, but if I wanted to, I could have that 10th field there, and anything that comes into this field, I can now search this via a report. So I'll go back into my reports here and show you how that actually translates.
So the custom fields are automatically made available on the reports. That's great.
Exactly. So if I generate, this time I added color into the mix, so that way that would also show up on there as well in my headers color. So sadly, probably a bunch of the products I might have sold right now don't offer it. Oh, there they are. Sorry. But yeah, the ones at the top didn't have it, but you can see now I have color. I could go and organize those in ascending or descending order based off of their name. I can also now search based off of that too by my filters up here. You notice at first there are not every single filter that is a column, but I can definitely add color up here. And then I could easily say, I want to see black and all the fulfilled ones and generate that. And at least this way, it will filter out some of those details for me. So I can just see the products that are black in color. I can see my sold quantity. I get a beautiful layout at the bottom here of how much it was from the entire list. I can see total sales. So this would be the total accumulated sales that has gone out for this product of the 100 here that were sold. And then the cost of goods sold, which in this case, it looks like I don't have a cost for this item. But if I did record this, that would also show up on the same screen. And that goes back to what we were talking about with QuickBooks, which is, I may have to look in a journal entry and also an invoice to get some of this detail, where I can get all of this from one screen. And then the beauty of it all is I can save this in either a CSV and look at that in this format. So if I needed to do any more altering with some of the data, I get that report in a beautiful CSV, or I can have it printed out in a lovely PDF by also going into that save option, hitting PDF, and that will show up very similar to this. So everything laid out there, and it will print out as many pages as it needs to based off of what data is being presented to us.
So my understanding is a report is something that is printed out of the software, right? It's not necessarily just a sales report. But when we talk about reports, we talk about anything that's printed out, like templates and labels also would be considered a report. And so we can we can redesign or update or make modifications to, add custom fields to templates and labels. And when I say label, it's like product label or location labels with barcodes on them. So everything you've seen Kiri do here to the product sales report, imagine, and maybe we'll go to that, Kiri. Imagine making those changes to the sales order template or the product label or the location bin label. So you have that ability to customize and modify. And my notes here that I took a while ago say that you guys work with Crystal reports. Is that right?
So yes, we work with Crystal. We did mainly for our desktop app, but we actually enhanced it a little bit where we created our own designer now. So we
Okay.
actually have that baked into the actual code now, which I think gives a lot more of a user-friendly experience because before you had to do everything through Microsoft Word to design those documents, where now there's actually a document designer and even an email designer as well that you can do a lot of that customized reporting can just be baked into the system now and be done on the web app and the desktop now.
So my notes are, I guess, are a little bit old. The Crystal reports apply to your older on-prem version. And now with your newer in the cloud version, your report writing tool is all native.
Right. And you still technically have access to it if you were to go into the desktop version of the app and you opted out of wanting to use the document designer. If you feel comfortable with using Crystal, you can definitely. So not I wouldn't say you're necessarily wrong. It's still there, but I would say we're trying to push everyone to the easier way of being able to do things.
So you bring up an interesting aspect of InFlow. Obviously, a lot of inventory management software programs have been forced to the cloud by the demand of the users in the market in the past 10 years. And you're no different. And you're doing pretty good, I think, from what I can see with this race to the cloud and this transition from the old on-prem version to the new cloud version. But it sounds like what you're saying is when you purchase InFlow, you still have both. Like you have the user interface on the cloud, but also if you want to go to the on-prem version and access it somehow, that's possible. Is that right?
Yeah. So the on-prem version, that has been sunsetted, but what we did do is we created almost a copy of what that on-prem version looks like in terms of a UI experience and created a desktop cloud app. So if you're someone who was using on-prem or really just likes the layout of maybe something that looks a little bit more, familiar to Excel or spreadsheets, you still have that ability to use something that makes you feel comfortable. But you have the beauty of the cloud where if you do something in that desktop app, it's also going to translate to the web version of the app and vice versa. So you can kind of build your experience around that. I find a lot of companies sometimes may go back and forth. I try to always lean everyone to the web app because I do think that is the future of InFlow. But at InFlow, I think we really pride ourselves in like it's your choice. What makes it easier for you? So you definitely have that ability to play around with both of them to an extent.
So, Kiri, going back to the report screen, what would you say your most popular reports are? What would you say are the reports your customers or users are navigating to and using most frequently?
Definitely the product by sales is a huge one. Everyone I think wants to know, and I'll get back into showing you here, but product sales is a huge, huge one. Everyone wants to know what I bought something for, how many of it have I sold, how much did it sell for. Sales order summary, I think, is awesome for when you're needing to track down sales orders, especially by certain customers. Maybe you want to finish your books for the month. The sales order summary would give you a list of all the sales orders that you could have done in a specific time period. So everyone, I think, wants to know that. Sales order profit, again, is a huge one. I think we know in the name why everyone would love to run that report. And then customer, I think on the sales side as well is very big because this will give you profiles of the customers. You can also see balances that they have paid or outstanding. So that's a really great way of being able to get all that in one screen.
One particular area that I like is the forecasting that you had up there. If you don't mind, with the remainder of time we have, taking a look at that, I think this is an area where too many small business owners miss. One mistake I see a lot of small business owners make is they underestimate the inventory management software they purchased, and they don't realize the power of the software that they bought. And this is an area I see is commonly missed. Forecasting, MRP, basically leveraging the software to make purchasing decisions. You know, all the work that you put in to keeping your inventory accurate now is given back to you as a reward in the form of easy purchasing decisions and powerful forecasting. So I'm really curious to see these reports here: inventory duration, recommend reorder points, stock and reordering, inventory aging. What's that stock and reordering?
Yeah, so this one goes over, the total quantities of the stock available and some of the reordering information. Now, you're completely right, Lance, in the sense of like so many people I think overlook these reports because it hosts the data that they're probably not so in control of, because a lot of these reports are going to be going based off of the movement that happens within the app. So when someone's making a purchase order, storing that product for an extended period and then selling it, they haven't seen the part where InFlow has been tracking that product even if they haven't been using it, right? That's what this like recommended reorder point goes into, which is one thing that we usually try to get every customer to do at some point, because it will figure out what your daily demand is based off of the sales that you make. It will use things like the lead time that you have for a vendor of how long something gets to you, and then when it was received. And then it can figure out also based off if you want to have safety stock as well, how much you should be reordering regularly. And the stock and reordering is kind of, once that has all been built into place, can give you an idea of where or how much you should be anticipating, what the current reorder point is. It will suggest a quantity of what you should usually buy, so that way you don't run out of stock before you sell, because it knows essentially how much you're selling generally. And this is something where in the very beginning, you may not get very great numbers because it hasn't been able to track some of that data. So we always kind of recommend that after 90 days, the system, if you have been using everything correctly, will usually be able to do this very, very well for you. So
And we should really do another video just on reordering, just on that topic. It justifies its own video for sure. Maybe multiple videos, to be honest.
yeah, because I think there are a lot of in-depth areas of it that we could dive into for sure.
But hopefully, viewers, what you're taking away from this video is the reports in InFlow are robust. Instead of looking in QuickBooks for sales reports, you should look at InFlow. You can customize, adding custom fields and moving columns around and filtering with the reports, the templates, and the labels. Thank you, Kiri, for introducing us to the reporting screen. And if you have any further questions about reporting, be sure to reach out to InFlow. And if there's a report you want to know if they have, reach out to their sales department or support department. And they're really friendly people over there. They're really helpful. So thank you, Kiri. I'm Lance, inventory management software expert since 2006, and it's been great to visit with Kiri on this video. Be sure to check out our other videos on different topics in InFlow. We'll see you on the next video.